Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, and a puzzle by Glum Hippo today, friend of the channel and currently working on, May's Patreon reward, which is apparently due to be a series of puzzles about snake eggs, which is a particular puzzle, Sudoku puzzle type that we haven't seen for a while on the channel, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this. So Philip has prepared a different puzzle. This one's on Logic Master Germany, where I think it has a German title. If I say im Obstgarten, you can correct my pronunciation or indeed memory of what that title is. In the orchard is the translation. So we're going to hope to find a few low-hanging fruit and maybe some even more hidden stuff today when we tackle this puzzle, which intriguingly uses 3 rules for each of a certain number of circled cells in the puzzle, and they all apply to each rule, to each circle, all 3 rules, which is weird. I'm really looking forward to exploring it, and we'll do the rules in a moment. But that Patreon stuff, obviously join our Patreon so you can get the Patreon rewards on the 1st of each month, but there are plenty of other postings on Patreon. In April we've had a special pack by Sandra and Nala for spring, and there's my crossword videos, all sorts going on all the time. And we encourage you to have a look at that. Now, what else have we got going on the channel? We've got all our apps on the links under the video. They include Arrow Sudoku, which features a sort of today, and they include all sorts of others. Puzzles by some of the best in the world constructors, so check that out. There's our merchandise. There's, oh yeah, I mean, look at this unbelievably good mug. Cracking the Cryptic. There's Sven's Sudoku pad, and there's this puzzle is the first link. It's, as I say, it's called In the Orchard. Now, the rules are these. Normal Sudoku rules apply in the 9x9 grid. We're going to put 1 to 9 in every row of it, every column, and every 3x3 box. This perimeter is just for our notes and for the circles that abide within it. Now, numbers in circles are simultaneously skyscraper sums, full rank clues, and arrow bulbs. So I'm going to explain those one by one. So for a skyscraper sum, you have to imagine each cell in the 9x9 grid as a building of height n, where n is the digit in the cell. So imagine that this column, in that mode, this column goes 3, 9, 5, 6, 4, 1, 2, 8, 7. Now these buildings of height 3 and 9, obviously if you look from here, you can see the 3 building right in front of you, and you can see the 9 building behind it because it's taller, but you can't then see any of the others. Now the skyscraper sum here would add the 3 and the 9 that you can see and give a sum of 12. From this end you'd be adding 7 and 8 and 9 to give 24. The other buildings you couldn't see. So that is how skyscraper sums work. You're looking into the building, into the grid from outside and seeing the buildings you can see and adding them up. Right, full rank, which occasionally occurs as a rule set in things like Grand Prix and World Puzzle Championships, treats every row and column of the grid, read from each end, as a 9-digit number, and then ranks those numbers in ascending order. So if this row said 3, 8, 7, 6, 1, 2, 5, 4, 9, you would treat it as the number 387,612,549. And that would be higher than, say, this column, which would begin 1 something 9, etc. So it would be ranked as a higher number, and the rank number would go here, and it might be about 12 or something. So the numbers from 1 to 36 theoretically can appear outside the grid. Certainly the rankings exist, and that you could rank every Sudoku grid you see. I don't know quite what you do. It's not impossible, I think, for two rows or columns to be exactly the same in a random Sudoku grid, but I don't know quite how the ranking would work. Let's assume that never happens. Arrow bulbs give the sum of the digits along the attached... I've been thinking about that while I've been talking. Maybe it's not possible for that to occur. Doesn't matter. Arrow bulbs give the sum of the digits along the attached arrow, so that's normal. That is the sum of those three. Digits may repeat on arrows if permitted, so those two could be the same. Okay, arrow shafts in row 4, column 6 go straight. So that's one arrow and that's the other arrow, just for clarity. Excellent. Okay, those are the rules. And for each of these, I suppose it's just for these 5 circles outside of the grid. Each of those 3 rules applies to each circle, which is fascinating. Give it a try. I am going to restart my clock and say, let's get cracking. Now, where do we begin here? Do we begin... I think the 5-cell arrow straight feels as restricted as anything. So the sum of that for the purposes of the arrow bulb is somewhere between 15 if that was the digits 1 to 5 and 35 if it was the digits 9 to 5. That's not very limiting within the full rank sums because they go from the full rankings go from 1 to 36. So 15 to 35 is a large part of that. And then the skyscrapers. Okay, the skyscraper numbers are going to be a bit limited too, but it seems like they all come within that range as well. Okay, what I'm thinking about the skyscraper sums clues is that every skyscraper sum clue will count its first digit. Let's imagine just at random that was a 3 and you were looking from here. You would count that 3. Somewhere in the column you will count a 9. So 9 is the absolute minimum for a skyscraper sums clue. And that's if it began with a 9. But if it began with a 3, you might see a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and even an 8. Or you might not see any of those before you get to a 9. But the clue is never going to be less than 12 for a 3 clue. So 9 is the absolute... Okay, I think what we need to do is to consider the starting digits, these N's. I might as well colour those cells. I think they're the interesting point of this puzzle. And what I'm actually going to consider, I thought probably the arrows would be the most helpful of the 3 rules, given that I understand them better and I know their limitations. I actually think we're going to need to compare skyscraper sums and full ranks. Yeah, so if we did begin with a 3 in one of these cells. Right, okay, here's something I do know about full rank puzzles that I haven't really thought about for a long time because I haven't done one for a long time. Obviously, every row and column of the grid contains the digits 1 to 9. Absolute knowledge bomb from Sudoku there. But that applies clearly to the perimeter rows and columns as much as anywhere else. So each of those contains the digits 1 to 9, just as each of those does. Now, what that means for the full rank calculations is that of the 36 numbers that you are ranking from 1 to 36, 4 of them, one from each of north, south, east and west, begins with a 1, and those numbers will be ranked 1 to 4. 4 of them in the same way begin with the number 2, and those will be ranked from 5 to 8. And that must apply. So if we had a 3 here, the ranking number would be somewhere between 9 and 12. And we've worked out that 9 is the minimum ranking number, so none of these orange N cells are going to be 1 or 2. It's not possible. Let's just fill it, let's fill in all the numbers and then eliminate them one by one. If you began with a 3, The cell, so your full rank clue is somewhere between 9 and 12. But once you begin with a 3, the minimum is 12. So you could have a 3 in the end cell, but the full rank clue will be number 12. It will be the 12th full rank, so you can only have one of those in the puzzle. And it's followed by a 9 somewhere. Probably immediately, just on the basis that if you had a row or column that began 3, 1 or 2 and then had a 9, it's unlikely to be higher ranked than the other 3 beginning 9-digit numbers around the grid. And that's maybe overcomplicating things at this stage. So we can begin with a 3. What I'm actually going to do is come down from the top. We can't begin with a 9 because the skyscraper sum number would be 9, but the full rank clue would be somewhere between 33 and 36. So 9 is absolutely not possible. I think we're going to be able to eliminate 8 and 7. If it began with an 8, the skyscraper sum clue would be 17, but the full rank clue would be over 28. Now I'm getting worried. If we began with a 7, you might see 7, 8, 9. The full rank clue would be 25 to 28. No, it doesn't work. Yes, 7, 8, 9 is the maximum. 24 is the maximum skyscraper sum clue, but 25, one more, is the minimum full rank clue. So these are all 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now that doesn't mean there's only one possibility. I mean, it clearly proves there isn't only one possibility for each of 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now 6 works fine because the full rank clue will be somewhere between 21 and 24. And after a 6, you could see either a 7 or an 8, and then the 9, and you would have 22 or 23. So there are 2 possible 6s amongst these numbers. I've just realised these digits can't be 6, because this 6 sees them. It might be worth me just aide-memoiring the possible totals, because I've just realised with that 6 thing, it can, or the possible skyscrapers that get seen, it could be 679 or 689, and there the sums would be 22 or 23. Now with a 3 we worked out the only possibility was 39 to give us a full rank total of 12. Right, with a 4, your skyscraper sum clue is somewhere between 13 and 16. It is going to be 13 with a 4, 9, because you can't insert another skyscraper of 5 or 6 in there without busting through that 16 ceiling. I hope you're following me. But now we've only got 5 to work on. 5 needs a full rank clue somewhere between 17 and 20. You're going to see a 5 and a 9, that's 14. What other digit from 6, 7, 8 could you insert? Only a 6. So these possibilities are very limited. There we go. I will just... this is just aide-memoiring. But these are the 5 possible sets of buildings you can see from one of these circles based on just considering skyscraper sums clues and full rank clues. You're going to either have, and the circles themselves are going to either be 12, 13, 20, 22 and 23. In fact, because the full ranks all have to be different, they are going to be those 5 numbers. And there we go. We need 2 of these to begin. So we are going to see these 5 skyscraper combinations from these 5 circles. And 2 of them have to begin with a 6. And we know exactly where they are. And we've got numbers in the grid after less than 10 minutes of thinking about this. These others are a 3, a 4 and a 5 in some order. These two clues are 22 and 23, and the digits being seen down them are 679 and 689 in some order. These clues are 12, 13 and 20 in some order. Right, now we just have to kind of eliminate which one is which. This arrow is just the right length to be 13. It can't be 12 actually, so I'm going to remove the 3 from that. 1, 2, 3 there is a minimum. 1, 2, 3 there is 12, plus 1 is 13. So this can't be the 3. That's quite interesting. Right. In fact, for this to be the 4, this would be 4, 9 looking down here. Oh, I'll tell you what's quite interesting. Oh, this is a very interesting thought. Now, this is a bit complicated, and you thought what I've just done isn't, but, or did you? You probably didn't, frankly, but I can see this. This is fascinating. Right. When we put in a 4 in one of these cells, the next skyscraper it will see is... Ah, no, I'm sorry. I've just had a less interesting thought. What I was thinking was that if we saw 4 and then 9 immediately, the full rank number, which was 13, would have to begin 4, 9, and then every instance of of 4 on the perimeter would have to begin 4, 9 to allow the other full rank numbers of 14, 15 and 16 to be in the right order. I've burst my brain thinking about that. It wasn't true, because the skyscraper column or row that sees 4 and 9 could go 4, 1, 9, and that would be a satisfactory low number. Yeah, I'm going to have to do something else in this puzzle, not think about that, because that's confusing the heck out of me now. Okay, where does 9 go in row 5 based on this 22 or 23 clue? This is quite interesting, actually. If 9 went on the arrow, you'd have to see all the 3 skyscraper buildings on the arrow, 6, 7 and 9, or 6, 8 and 9, because the 7 or 8 that is going to count is going to have to precede the 9. But then there's another digit on the arrow which is breaking the circle. Because if that 22 or 23 is meant to count not only the skyscrapers, it's also meant to count the arrow. And these 6, 7, 9 and 6, 8, 9 combinations are not 4 cells long. So my conclusion from that is that 9 is not on the arrow. We know by Sudoku it's not there. So the 9 in this row is in one of those 3 cells. That's going to work for this arrow as well. It can't have the 9 on the arrow in one of those positions, because the other skyscraper building would have to be seen on the arrow, and then the arrow would also have another couple of cells, which would make this total difference. So that's not a 9. So 9 is in one of those 2 cells. I think 9 is not here, and it's almost the same argument. No, it's not quite the same argument. It's a lovely argument. It's nuanced, actually. Right. This is either 3, 4 or 5, and this combination of digits is either, of skyscrapers, is either 3 and then 9, 4 and then 9, or 5, 6, 9. And I've been wondering if, okay, let's start with the 5, 6, 9 possibility. The 9 would now have to be here based on the Sudoku work we've just done. It would go 5, 6, 9, and this would be a 20 based on the skyscrapers. However, this arrow would have 5 there and 9 there and would need another 6 here. So you'd have 6 in both of those positions. So that's not possible. So 9 can't go there. Indeed, this can't be a 5 anymore. This is 3 or 4. Now I'm going to explain why this can't be a 9. Because this would be counting the skyscrapers there and there, but it's also meant to add that digit into the arrow sum. So this can never be the 9. So this is a 9. We got the 9 in the row. This is either 3 or 4, and this sum, this circle is either 12 or 13. And either way round, these two digits add up to 9 to make the arrow work. And now my argument would actually, oh goodness. My argument would apply. If this turns out to be a 4, then every ranking number in the puzzle that begins with a 4 is going to have a 9 after it, because the rank of this row would be number 13. And 14, 15 and 16, which also begin with a 4, have to be bigger. So all of them would have to begin 4, 9. So I hope that does begin with a 4, but I haven't got that yet. Now, so the 9 in this column goes below the arrow. We've worked out it's not on the arrow. It's somewhere down here. Right, this row cannot be the 6, 7, 9 row, because the next skyscraper you would see after the 6 would be 7 somewhere, but then where would 8 go? It can't go before the 7 because it would become the next skyscraper you see, and it can't go after the 7 because you would see it as well and make the skyscraper sum clue 30. So this must be the 6, 8, 9 row, and this is a 23. This is 22 in the rank up here, and this is the 6, 7, 9 clue, and the 8 is hidden behind the 9. So that's not a 9, and the 8 is in one of these cells. The 7, I don't know. Well, okay, this arrow now adds up to 22. I have a feeling it needs the 7 on it, because it can't have a 9 or an 8. So we're selecting from 7 digits that add up to 28, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're missing 2 of those digits that add up to 6, because we're only summing to 22 on the arrow. And those 2 digits that we're missing are either 1, 5 or 2, 4. So 3 and 7 are definitely on this arrow, which is not that thrilling, but still interesting. Now this arrow adds up to 23. In this row we're seeing 8 before we're seeing 7. Does 8 have to be on the arrow? If it wasn't on the arrow, the most these cells could be, if the 8 wasn't on the arrow, the 7 couldn't be on the arrow, because the 8 would be in one of those cells with hiding the 7 behind it. Therefore, the arrow could only be 6, 5, 4, actually not even 3, 6, 5, 4, 2. That won't get us to the total of 23 quite. So, I think 8 is on the arrow, because we need to get a high digit on the arrow. Actually, 7 could be on the arrow too. The arrow could contain 6, 8, 7, 2. It's quite a complicated puzzle in some ways, but we're making progress now. And we've found the 23 and the 22. We've got a 20, a 12 and a 13 ranks to find still. Haven't really thought about this one yet. Oh no, maybe the long arrow. Yes, hang on. Can this still be 4? That cannot be a 4 because of this 9. Oh, it could. Because I was going to say they're the only 2 digits seen. This would have to be 1, 2, 3. No, that would fail. Right. If that was a 4, which I'm now going to prove it can't be, This would have to be 1, 2, 3 for these buildings to be hidden behind the 4, so that we would only see the 4 and the 9 in this column to maintain this 13 skyscraper sum. But for that to be a 13 arrow sum, this has to be 1, 2, 3. That also has to be 1, 2, 3, and that has to be 1. But if those digits are 1, 2, 3, how can those digits be from 1, 2, 3? They can't. So that's a 5. And this is, oh, we're going to need to see 5, 6, 9. Well, the 6 is clearly there. These digits are below 5, so they're not being seen. We knew that those two were going to add up to 9. Yes, because in the skyscraper sum we're adding orange and 9, and in the arrow sum we're adding orange, 6 and that, and they come to the same total. So that's a 3. That cell isn't a 3. Much more importantly, this cell isn't a 3 and is now a 4, and that one's the 3. And we know what all these circle totals are now. This one is 13, this one is 12, this one is 20. Now, 20 on this arrow is getting slightly interesting to me. We've got 1, 2, no, hang on, 1, 2, 4 are not the minimum because they would kill these cells. So there must be a 7. 1, 2, 7 is the absolute minimum here, adding up to 10. These could be 1, 2, 3, taking us to 16, and that could be a 1. Okay, that didn't get it done, but interesting. I mean, goodness knows what I meant to do now. Okay, this row. Right, 3 is only followed by digits that it's obscuring in skyscraper terms, or the 9. Or before the 9, it can only have 1 or 2, but that can't be a 9 by Sudoku, so that is 1 or 2. Then either this is 1 or 2 and that's 9, or this is 9. That can't be 9, because the arrow would already add up to 12, which is the total of it, and those two digits hadn't been counted. So that is the 9. And this one isn't a 9. And now this arrow has to add up to 12 as well. The skyscraper clue is taken care of. Oh, the full rank clue. Oh, the full rank clues got very interesting. Oh yeah, well, first of all, my thing about 4s was proved right. 493 begins the lowest 9-digit number beginning with 4 in this puzzle. So round every perimeter row and column, wherever 4 appears, it's followed by 9. And look, we found the 9 in this row. So the 4 in the bottom row must be there. Otherwise 4 would appear somewhere like here and couldn't have 9 there, and the full rank thing would be broken. This is going to be a ranking above 13, so that's not going to be 1 or 2. Anyway, never mind about that. We also have a 4 somewhere in this column with a 9 next to it, and a 4 somewhere in this row. Now, where can that 4 be? Not in this column by Sudoku, or that one by Sudoku. It can't be here or here, because the 9 would be in one of those cells, and Sudoku forbids that. So the 4 is in one of those cells, and 9 is in one of those. 4 can't be there, because both row and column would need 9 there and there. And 9 can't be there, because both row and column would need 4 there and there. So those two don't apply, and we've found it in the top row. That's absolutely bizarre. Now we can probably limit 9. So 9 in column 2. Well, again, that can't be 4, 9, and that can't be 4, 9 because of these digits. So the 4, 9 is either there or there, and I'm going to put that in as a 4 in one of those cells and a 9 in one of those. Now, this gets even better, because the 12th ranked 9-digit number, which is higher than 3 other numbers beginning with 3, is either 319 or 329. So again, in all of these perimeters, 3, now there are options. 3 is followed by 1 or 2. Okay, we'll come back to that, but we'll bear that in mind because that seems really important. Oh, I could do maths on this row. You know the secret, of course, by now, that every row, column, and box adds up to the same number. That number is 45. I was going to say 129. Where did that come from? I don't know. That number is 45. And therefore, we've got an arrow adding up to 23. We've got those cells adding up to 16. That's 39. These ones add up to 6. And they are 1 and 5. And this arrow is 6, 2, 7, and 8. And the 8 obscures the 7. So that's not 8. 7's in one of those two. There we go. Yeah, let's do it this way. 8's in one of those two, and 2 is in one of the 3 cells. 8 thus obscuring 7. Right, now, I haven't been looking at this arrow for a long time. It's got to add up to 12, and we've already got 7 on it. So these other 2 cells add up to 5. This one must be below 5, so it's the other one of 1 or 2. This one is 3 or 4. It's got to be 4. I'm just worried that this is coming almost too easily now. I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to say after 25 minutes and only 10 digits inserted, but it seems to have worked. I've made this arrow add up to 12. The skyscraper sum is 12. And the full rank, yeah, okay, that's helpful. It begins 329. So somewhere in this row there's a 3 with a 1 above it. The 1 in this row is in one of those cells, so the 3 is below it in one of those two. Somewhere in this column there's a 3 immediately followed by a 1 or a 2. That's a little bit more open to interpretation. Same is true for this row. There's a 3 in there followed by a 1 or a 2. We'll get to that. Now, this can't be a 1-2 pair. This is therefore a 7-8 pair in the column. Oh, it was this arrow is the one. No, I've still got both of these arrows to do. And this one's getting more interesting now. 127 remains a likely minimum here now. Actually, I can place 9 in box 3 by sudoku. This is either 127 or 128. And I know it doesn't include 7 and 8 because that's going to bust this arrow completely. So we've got 10 or 11 there. This is, well, these 2 cells are at least 2 and 3. So let's go with the minimum. 10 there, 2 and 3 there is 15. We can't possibly put a 5 here, or we've reached 20 before adding that cell in. So that's definitely a 1. With 2 and 3 being the minimum, we're up to a minimum of 16. 4 is the maximum for this cell. These, if they're not 2 and 3, I suppose they could be 3 and 4. I'm trying to prove that's not a 2. Haven't quite achieved it, but we're getting close. This is 7 or 8. That's a 6 by sudoku. These are from 5, 7, and 8, and this is a 1-2 pair. I'm gradually finding out what's going on in this puzzle, but it's taking a while. 5, 7, 8 are candidates there. Now, it's this arrow that I haven't been thinking about at all. I keep putting it off. It's definitely got a 6 and a 5 on, and a 7 and a 3. I can do this maths. The other number is a 1. 1, 3, and 7. This one can't be a 1. I'm pretty sure it can't be a 7 on this arrow sum again. So 10 minimum there. If that was a 7, 17, 18, those would have to add up to 2. That's not possible. So that's a 3. Now, there's a 1 in one of those cells, so this isn't a 1. Now, this is getting interesting. 10 minimum there. 3 and 1 there is 14. These add up to no more than 6. And neither of them is a 1. So they've got to have a 2 amongst them. They add up to a number that is, yeah, 2, 3 or 2, 4 is what they are. And they definitely include a 2, and this number is not a 2, therefore. This is a 7. No, that doesn't sort out the 2-8 order. One of those is a 2. I should pencil mark that actually, because I might forget. I haven't quite ruled this down to be 1, 2, 7, which it might well be. Now we've got 2, 8 and 9 to place in this column, but the 9 must precede the 8 looking down from the top. The 1, 3 is clearly not in the central column, it's clearly here. Now that was the other thing about the full rank. We need a 3 followed by a 1 or a 2. Well, it's not going to be there, there or there because of the 3's and that given. It's not going to be there either. Now I can't risk saying it's not the same thing because I've got the 1 or 2 to follow it in the top row. There is a 3 in one of those 2 cells, and it could be followed here by a 2. Ooh, do I have to consider the 4th digit in the full rank? Because this will go 3, 2, 9 as that does. It's getting complicated. I'm not going to think about that yet. Might have to. Anyway, I mean, oh look, I've got a 3 there. So this is now a definite 2, 4 pair. So we can add up this arrow, 10 there, these add up to 10, they are 1, 2, 7. That's what I expected to prove, and so it has transpired. This becomes a 7, that becomes an 8. These don't have an 8, that becomes an 8. This is now not an 8, which is quite interesting because we have to place 8 in the column, so we whack it in at the bottom, and this is a 2, 9 pair. 7, 1, 5, 3. One of these is a, so let's look up this column. 2, 4, 7, 1, 3. That is a naked 8. That's where 5 goes in the... How do I know that's a 5? No, it becomes a naked 5. That's how I know. My brain is not telling my body what it's thinking. Right, and we have a 6, 9 pair down here, which are resolved by this. So we can put in 9, 6. That sorts out 9, 2. This is a 5, 6, 7 triple. These are from 2, 4, 8. This could still begin 3, 2, and therefore be helping with the full rank. Oh, gosh. Yes, I've just remembered. All these 4 9s from the outside, they're going to have a bigger number, or at least a 3. So we're okay here. This is 4, 9, 6. Here we have to go 4, 9, at least 3. I mean, that might be interesting. I'm going to put in the candidates. And here it's 4, 9, and then at least 3. That's not by any chance going to resolve. Well, no, it's not. I mean, I should really just be doing Sudoku, I imagine, at this point, but it's a little hard to figure that one out. This isn't a 6. Well, there's a 5, 7 pair, so actually I can then fill in 3 and 4, so I'm right about some Sudoku helping at this point. That bit at least did. We've got a 6 there in row 2. Okay, I'm sort of going back to thinking about the 3's in the perimeter. So the 3 in column 1 can only be there or in one of these 3 cells. But it can't be in row 2 because it has to be followed by a 1 or a 2 for these full rank jobbies. So one of those 3 yellow cells is the 3. In the top row, the 3 is either there or here, but it can't be there again because it would be followed by a 6. So in the top row, 3 is in one of the grey cells. Now it could be here if that's a 2 and that's a 1. I've just realised that is 2 or 3 by Sudoku. That's 2, 3 or 4. It can't be a... oh yes, it could go... no, hang on. Now I do need to think about this digit. If this went 3, 2, 9, 4, 1, it would be less than this one going 3, 2, 9, 4, 5, 6, or 7. So if that's a 3, we know the whole beginning of this. It goes 3, 2, 9, 4, 1, 8. It's weird that you get that much information that far along a full rank clue. No, I'm probably, I think I've done all the arrows. I've sort of done all the skyscrapers, haven't I? Have I missed any tricks there? No, I think I've done all the skyscrapers. When we fill in the remaining digits, they must be satisfied. So it's just this annoying full rank thing to do. So let's pencil mark the candidates in the remaining cells. 1, 4, 3, so, I don't know. Oh, that can't be a 3, since that's there. The trouble is I am going to have to think about these 3s to get this finished. That's annoying. We've got a 4, 9 to put in this box. Oh, well, it can't go in there because of that 9. Yeah, nump. Right, I'm putting 4, 9 in here. Oh, that's going to do Sudoku. 2, 4, 8. And that's what we had to avoid. Right, that's what sorts this out. I'll come back to that in a moment when I've done this Sudoku. Because there's quite a lot of Sudoku that suddenly gets done there, which is nice. But this cannot be a 3 now, because to stay under this number, 3, 2, 9, 4, 5 or something, we could only go 3, 2, 9, 8, and we've gone over it. So that's a 2. So bye-bye grey. And that's the 3 in column 1. And it's followed by a 1 or a 2, which can't be a 1 in this column, and is a 2. And that is the 3 in column 1 as well, and in row 1, therefore, it's followed by a 1. We still have to keep that number below this number. It must be. That's fine. I think that is all the information we can possibly get in this puzzle from the skyscraper sums, the full ranks, and the arrow bells, from the circles outside the grid. So I hope the rest of it is Sudoku now, and we will see if that works out. It's working quite well in this top corner so far, so hurrah. 5, 7, and 8 to go in here. This 2, 8 pair, they're not resolved. This 1, 3, 5 pair trio are resolved. Now that can't be a 5 and that can't be a 7. Down here, this can't be 7. That can't be 5. In this column, I seem to have to put a 9. And 9, 3, 8, 4, 1. Uh-oh. There's still something to do. So I've forgotten that I haven't quite fulfilled some other clue, or else maybe this does resolve by Sudoku, but it would be a bit surprising at this point. We've got that 7, 8 pair. Oh, I'll take out the aide memoirs now. They've been there a long time, but they weren't getting in anybody's way. How does the what have I forgotten? I've forgotten the 3, the rank. Oh, the rankings. It's not the rankings of the numbers beginning with 3 or 4, but even the rankings of the 5 numbers. They could have been incredibly helpful. I've forgotten them entirely. So this 5 number begins 5, 4, 3, and that is the highest, number 20. So all the other 5 numbers have to begin lower than that. So this is where 5 is. So we can begin 5, 1, 4 instead of 5, 8, 6. This already begins low enough, 5, 3, 1. Oh, and this one now begins low enough, 5, 3, 7. That might have been all we needed, but I haven't even thought about the 6s yet. So we will do that if we need to in a moment. Let's just see if we've tied it enough up. No. Okay, I need to think about the 6s. So we've got this one. Full rank 22 is 6, 7, 1. This is rank 23, so it has to be higher. It has to be 6, 8, 2. That might do quite a bit of Sudoku. It did quite a bit of Sudoku, but we're still left with a deadly pattern. So I need to think a little bit more about the sixes. 671 is 22. 682 is 23. There's another one. And here's the lowest. That's rank 21, 632. That's rank 22, 671. That's rank 23, 682. This has to be higher, so it's 683. And that does finish the puzzle. Isn't that beautiful? Well, I think it is. It's really clever. You are the apple of my eye, because we're in the orchard and we've found... There wasn't a lot of low-hanging fruit to find, to be honest, Philip. There was a lot of complicated stuff. It was really interesting, actually. I thought the first interesting step was knowing there were only 5 possible combinations of skyscraper sums and full rank, which was very surprising. But there we go. Well done if you sailed through that. You are indeed a classic apple picker then. And hope to see you again soon for more weird and wonderful variant Sudoku on the channel. Bye for now.